Okay, this is a fire rake. So a fire rake has these really cool, like nifty, sharp, like 4-prong things. Okay, and so a fire rake is really cool because this is what is used when they are doing those purposeful burns in a forest fire. Used to kind of like rake those coals and some of the brush and stuff like that, and cut through some of the brush. They're not super sharp. I would imagine they sharpen them before they go out in the wilderness. But that is it's kind of sharpened like knives on the end. Yeah. But used to get in that fire. And it's not light. So I want you guys to think about how like these companies would, like these fire companies are carrying these up and down all these different mountains and stuff, like how much weight they have to carry. Okay, we're gonna jump into leaves today. At the latest, we need to finish our leaves tomorrow, so that way we can start going outside and doing cool things. So, my projector still hates me today. Nothing new. So, if you guys want to get to a place where you can see, and also if somebody would, Lane would turn out the lights. Okay. So we have talked about the beech tree. The beech tree has really straight lines on its leaves. Yeah. Also has spiky beech nuts. Did you? That's awesome. The chestnut is big and spiky. The elm is uneven and sandpapery. Very good. The cherry is small and waxy and has cherries on it. The sycamore is a camo bark with a big leaf. The aspen has little ski shoots, and you can tell it's an aspen because beautiful. And ash has how many leaves up at the top? Leaflets, 3. And it is what? 2 very distinct things. Compound and opposite. So check those things first every single time, because if you take 20 minutes to ID a tree and then you realize it's opposite, you're going to be really mad at yourself. Is a walnut. Walnut has just 2 at the top. Right, what is significant about a walnut tree? Takes a long time for them to produce walnuts, and the wood is what? Really dense and pretty. And they create walnuts which have these abrasive shells and then look like brains on the inside. Black locust, kind of like little nickels. Honey locust, longer and skinnier and has these little worm seed pod thingies on them, right? And I think that's where we cut off the other day. So we're gonna, like I said, keep cruising on this. This is a cottonwood, okay? I think cottonwoods are really cool. Did we talk about this one on Friday? Oh, okay, cool. So cottonwoods are really flat across the bottom with the peak, and they also give these little boo-boppers in the spring. And then the ginkgo is so cool because it's like a geisha fan. All right, so if you think of like a Chinese geisha and like the fans that they have and stuff. A geisha? Yeah, that's like the lady. I think it's just a fan. Yeah, there probably is a specific name for it. But a ginkgo tree is kind of wrinkled, and again, what's really cool is that ginkgos are found in a lot of fossils. So they actually will get like 18 meters in circumference when they're if they're let to fully grow. So a lot of people use them as like a decorative ornamental tree when they're still really young and small. But if you let them really take off, they become a really cool tree. They also, though, produce a really stinky like nut that falls in the fall. And we had one of these trees on campus at Wilmington, and it was on the way to the ag building. And in the fall, it would drop its nuts, and it would be all over the sidewalk. And then everybody would step on them when they're going to class, and it smelled really bad. Yeah. Okay, next tree we're going to talk about is a buckeye tree. The buckeye tree is the state tree of Ohio. Okay, The cardinal is our bird, and the white-tailed deer is our animal, and the carnation is our flower. But it produces a nut, obviously, that is Ohio State's mascot, is the Buckeye nut, okay? And these Buckeye nuts actually grow in these pods that kind of look like pears. So there's 2 or 3 of them in a pod, and then you break it open to find the nuts. So the Buckeye leaf is actually, I think it's called pinnately. So it's not actual compound, it's a pinnately like leaflets, which means that all of them come from the same place. So it's almost like a round as opposed to, so the leaf itself is opposite, right? It's part of madbuck. It is a compound or a pinnately compound leaf, but all of its leaflets come from the same place, and there's always 5. So if you think Buckeyes give each other a high five when they score, so Buckeyes have 5 leaves. Really cool stuff about the Buckeye is the nuts are actually highly, highly, highly poisonous. So that's why we're an intimidating mascot, because if you eat our Buckeye nuts, you die. Huh? Yeah, the mascot's a giant nut that if you eat, you die. Yeah, but if the Wolverine tries to eat the Buckeye, they're gonna die. All right. So produces those fruits. The Buckeyes actually have a large amount of tannic acid in them, and that's what makes them poisonous is the tannic acid. But that was actually used to be crushed down, and that's what they would use to tan the hide of tannic acid, tan the hide of leather. So when they would make leather goods and stuff, they would smush down Buckeyes, and that would give them enough, they'd be able to use that to last like a stain, basically. They like to be in stream banks. A lot of people, especially in Ohio, like to have them in their backyard, right? Downside is if your dog goes out and eats the nuts when they fall, they will die. So pros and cons. But they do live pretty long. They only get 15 meters tall, which is only about 45 feet. So they're good for a decorative tree. All right, the maple gang. There's so many of them. The first one is a red maple. So here is the 2 things that you need to know. With maples, there's like 3 or 4, actually there's a ton of different types of maples. We're gonna learn about like 3 or 4, but they all fall into a category of hard or soft, okay? So hard and soft maples are distinguished. So all maples have 3 kind of major areas here. All right, you see like the 3 bumps? Everybody see the 3 bumps? Okay. So all maples have those 3 bumps, but where they come together determines if it's a hard or a soft maple. So a soft maple is going to be in a V, all right? And a hard maple is going to make a U. So if it is rounded at that edge, then it is a hard maple. If it is at a V at that edge, then it is a soft maple. So what is a red maple, hard or soft? Soft, because right here at this combination, it comes to a V, so it is soft. Cool? That makes sense? On most of your stuff forestry-wise, leaf ID test and all, and at the contest, if you put hard or soft maple, they should count it right, or you at least get partial points, okay? So if you can identify that there, that that's a soft or that's a hard, then you're good. Red maple leaves can be poisonous to animals. You're gonna find are going to have like a little bit of red pigment at the base of their leaf, even in like the summer before they start to change. These are the maples that get that like really, 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 really super pretty red color in the fall, like the really bright, vibrant red due to its name. Cool. They live a freaky long time too. The silver maple kind of looks like it has mean eyes, right? If you were to like draw a face on there, it has its nose and like, okay. But the silver maple is cool. It's one of the most common trees in Ohio because the backside of it, oh, I don't have it. The backside of it is like a white color. And that's where they get their name silver maple, is it looks kind of silvery. So they are not going to live very long. The cool thing about silver maples, and some other trees do this too, but have you guys ever, like right before it rains, if you drive down the road, have you ever noticed that some trees look really white, or like the leaves look really light? That's because silver maples, right before it rains, will actually turn their leaves over, so the bottom side is up. And so right before a rainstorm, you can tell it's about to rain if you look and you see all the silver maples are flipping their leaves. So they look like white trees, basically. And I don't really know why they do that, if it's more absorbent, or I don't know. But they'll flip their leaves. So if you see that, then it's likely to start raining if you see a silver maple flip its leaves. Kind of cool. Is this hard or soft? So this one's the tricky one, but this one is going to be soft. And the reason being is if you look right here in the very peak, there is a little bit, like it kind of rounds out around that, okay? But right there in the peak, it does have a V, yeah. It kind of rounds into it, but then it V's really quick. Bless you. So this is silver maple is a soft maple. This one is a sugar maple. Is it hard or soft? That is a hard maple. Yep, it's a very distinct hue. So these are the ones that get super bright yellow, super bright red or orange in the fall. They usually have a lot of pigment. This is also the tree that is on the Canadian flag. Okay, so if you have any friends from Canada, this is their like mascot. There's literally a hockey team called the Maple Leafs. You talked about our Buckeye not being intimidating. But these produce a large amount of sap. So the sugar maples specifically, not just any maple when we're making maple syrup, the sugar maples specifically are what are tapped to be drained for maple syrup. So then they take the sap to a sugar shack and they boil it down and it gets really thick, and then they add some other things to it and then they make maple syrup. So that is how sap is made, or how, yeah. That cool? They're gonna get really tall, but they're gonna take a long time to get there, but they can live to be up to 400 years old. That's a freaky old tree. Cool. So those are really your maples. You got your sugar, your silver, and your red that we're gonna focus on. But again, if you can identify them as hard and soft, you will be good. All right, we're getting into some really fun ones now. I think the oaks are really cool. There's again like 10 types of oaks. We're gonna learn about 2, the red oak and the white oak, okay? So the red oak grows really fast. It's used a ton for like flooring and furniture because it's a lot like cherry and walnut in the fact that it's a really dense wood, but it's a lot cheaper than those two. So a lot of people like to use it for those projects where they want something sturdy, but they don't want to totally break the bank. Also used for railroad ties because again, it's really sturdy and it's not gonna rot. The white oak, in contrast, is one of the most long-lived trees. It can live for up to 600 years, okay? It was used to make barrels to hold whiskey and other liquids. So if you've ever heard like an oak charred like meat, or just like an oak barreled, they did that because it was so hard that it wasn't going to leak the fluids. So they had to pick the right kind of tree that could withstand holding a liquid like that for a long time. Because like your whiskeys and stuff, when they distill those, they're staying in those barrels for some of them up to like 50 years. So you've got to have a wood that can hold that much liquid without leaking for that much time. The difference between the two, so the distinct thing about an oak is their shape, right? Do you guys see how both of those have the same shape? All the little like shoop, 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 shoop. And this one also has a little like shoop, 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 shoop. Yeah, you get the shoops? Okay, what's the difference between the two? They have the same shape. What is it?
The ends, the tips of
the tips of the shoops
are curvy and then pointy.
Yeah. So the tips of the jupes are, one is curved and one is pointed. So my ag teacher taught me this trick when I was in high school and I've never forgot it. So if you guys ever played, raise your hand if you ever played Cowboys and Indians as a kid. Okay, what do the cowboys shoot? When they're hunting or fighting, what do the cowboys shoot? What? Pew-pews? They shoot little pew-pew guns? Okay, so cowboys shoot pew-pew guns. What do Indians shoot? Bows and arrows and spears, right? So if you look at the end of these, this one is really spiky and really sharp, all right? And that is the red oak. So although somebody might say something about it, but red oak, the red man, okay, or the Redskins, or whatever you would call them, right, were the Indians, and they shot bows and arrows and spikes, okay? The white men, who were the cowboys, right, shot guns, which hold what? Bullets, and if you look at these look like the end of a bullet. Okay, see that? So red men shot the spikes, white men shot the bullets. Don't say that. I'll get. All right, does that make sense? They call it, they're Redskins and stuff. I don't know what you. Okay.
Very interesting, like, analogy there.
Yeah, it works. My ag teacher, like I said, my ag teacher taught me that in 2009. Don't tell me that. Okay, the next one, guys, this is one of my favorites, really seriously. I love this tree so much. Okay, this is really fun. So the sassafras is a medium-sized tree. There's not a ton to it, like logistically, it likes fence rows, it likes to be beside a road, so it likes disturbed sites where the soil would be loose, right? But read that bottom line. It tastes like Fruit Loops. It's so cool. No, totally. It really does. If you chew on the base of the stem of the leaf where the node is, it tastes like Fruit Loops. Yeah, probably it can. Yeah. Yeah. So if you chew on the node of a sassafras, it tastes like Fruit Loops, and it smells really sweet too. Okay, and here's another thing about it is the sassafras, they make sassafras tea where you can dig up the root of the sassafras, okay, and you boil it and it makes like a black tea. And I want to do this, and now you have to drink it in like, if you think, okay, I'm going to dig up all these roots and boil them all the time, they have like a slight amount of carcinogens, so you can't drink like a ton of it. Like if you drink just like a glass, it's not going to hurt you, right? But if you drink like gallons of it a day, it's not a good idea. But if you dig up a little bit of the root and you boil it, and I would love to find a sassafras tree that I can dig up some root and boil it and bring it in and make sassafras tea, and I think that'd be really cool. But sassafras tea, you make that out of, and the flavor of sassafras tea and the flavor of the Fruit Loopy end, okay, what do we make sassafras tea out of? You boil the roots. That is the flavor that is used to make the artificial flavoring of root beer. So if you've ever wondered why is root beer called root beer, it's because it's based off the taste of a root when you boil it from the sassafras tree. Isn't that crazy? That's why it's called root beer. Because it's popped from the root of a tree. Other super cool thing about, so if you're ever caught in the wilderness, find sassafras trees to make a salad out of. It'll taste a lot better, okay? But other cool thing about sassafras is it actually has 3 different types of leaves. It has 3 different leaves on one tree, 3 different leaves. So it has this one, which is the mitten, okay? I put my hand right here. It's like a mitten, okay? It also has the stalk. So if I make the Spock sign with my hand, Spock, okay? And it also just has the plain round leaf, which is just like the closed hand. Okay? So closed hand, Spock hand, mitten hand. That is the sassafras. Everybody do that with me. Go like this, round hand, Spock hand. Round hand, Spock hand, mitten hand. Everybody do that again. Ready? Round hand, Spock hand, mitten hand. That's like the tree version of rock, paper, scissors. Yeah. Tree, mitten, Spock. Okay. Cool? All right. We're going to watch a slight video about the sassafras tree. Again, it's very educational. No, it's educational. Yeah? You what? There, it's possible. Can I look at one of the examples in the form of the leaf book? Yeah. Okay, are you guys ready for the most educational video about sassafras? Is everybody watching?
You can skip it in the morning, skip it in the evening, even at 2:45. 'Cause I like sassafras, you like sassafras, we like sassafras tea. What time is it? 6:10 a.m. I'm a morning girl. Clearly. What are you doing? I'm working on my demo. Demo of what? You see, my mother always tells me I have a lovely singing voice, so I wrote a song for myself. Listen. Take two. You can ship it in the morning, ship it in the evening, even at 2:45. 'Cause I like sassafras, you like sassafras, we like sassafras tea. Cut. You play back? Please don't.
They made a song. Now, even better, there's a remix. Hold on, this is. Remix. You see the leaf?
Ship it in the evening, even at 2:45. Ship it in the evening, even at 2:45.
Look at the leaves. Dance ready. You'll never forget. I had a freshman tell me that they've called me over. They're like, "You have no shame, do you?" And I said, "No, there's nothing that embarrasses me anymore." Oh yeah. I mean, in front of like peers, do I reserve myself a little bit? Yeah, but oh, I would absolutely keep dancing. So sassafras are so fun. There's a whole song about them. Oh, we love. Okay. What are the 3 types of shapes? Show me. Show me. Round, min, Spock. Do it again. Show me. Round, min, Spock. Okay. All right. We gotta keep pumping. Sorry. So the next one we're gonna learn about is the hickory leaf. The hickory leaf also has 5 leaflets on it, but unlike the buckeye, they don't all come from the same spot. So there's 3 big ones and then 2 sub-leaves. Okay. Not to be confused with an ash because it does have 3 leaves at the top, but an ash, yeah, looks like that. There's a lot more leaflets, okay? So the hickory has 3 bigger leaves and then 2 sub-leaves. They live really long. They are called what's called a shagbark hickory. So this isn't a great picture of it, but their bark actually like peels back off the leaf. So it kind of looks like a pineapple sometimes when it's like peeling backwards. If you guys have ever seen those in the woods where it's just like strips that are just kind of peeling back off a tree. That's a good sign that it's a hickory. I like to remember it with the nursery rhyme, or if you say like hickory dickory dock, the mouse ran up the clock, and it kind of looks like a grandfather clock in shape, right? If you say like there's the stanchion and then it's got like the big clock face. Yeah, no? Like there's like the big part where like this thing would be the, yeah, the pigeon, and then it like, that's like the clock face. So hickory dickory dock, the mouse ran up the clock. They also create hickory nuts. The squirrels love them. And they grow like 120 feet tall with a really straight trunk, so they're really great for timber cruising and the fact that you can get a lot of logs out of them because their trunks are so straight. Cool. Also a distinct leaf. That's really fun. Okay, this also so fun. And just look at the different shapes of the leaves. It's so exciting. This is what is called either a yellow poplar or a tulip tree. So it kind of looks like a tulip, right? It looks like a flower in its shape. So this is a tulip tree or a yellow poplar. It is one of the tallest hardwood species. So it gets the tallest and the straightest, but it's also a hardwood in the sense that it is like really dense, right? They also produce a lot of nectar, so they're really great for the bee population because the bees love to go to them and get their nectar. So tulip tree, bees like them, kind of like a flower. Got a whole theme going on, right? You have 3 of them in your backyard? That's cool. They're really pretty trees. They get up to 60 meters tall, which is like 180 feet. And again, their trunk grows really straight. So when we learn about timber cruising this week or next, you're going to know why having a straight trunk is really important. Okay. But they look like a tulip, and that's what's important. You what? Yeah. Cool. Tulip tree. Nectar. Tulip-looking leaf. Okay, we only have 3 left. Guys, this is exciting if we can finish this because we're going to have so much time for outside things. Okay. So this is the leaf for a blue spruce. The blue spruce is what is out here on the corner outside of the school, right? So usually you see them with a ton of these like in a circle and they're like kind of spiky and it hurts when you accidentally run into them. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? So a blue spruce is our first of our evergreen trees as opposed to our deciduous trees. So that means that it what?
Evergreen.
It's forever green. So it It doesn't lose its things in the winter, okay? So it does shed its things every now and then, but it just kind of how we lose hair, we shed some of our old hair and new grows, right? So it's not seasonally. Nice. So these are kind of like a gray-green color. That's why it kind of is like a light, like a steel blue if you look at it from a distance. So again, this one out here in front of the school at the corner is a blue spruce because it's kind of bluey. The color as it gets older gets bluer. So if you see some that are bluer than others or see some that look really green, it might just be a young blue spruce. They grow 9 to 18 meters tall, so that one out there is probably as tall as it's gonna get, but they live for a long time. Cool. Got it? Okay. The last two that we're gonna learn about are both pines. Pine trees have notoriously very soft wood, okay? That's why we use pine a lot. All of our 2x4s, all of our 1x6s that are up in the shop that we use for projects are pine because they're really malleable. It's not very dense, so it's easy for beginners to put like a nail through it because since it's not that dense, the particles move aside for the nail to go through easier, right? So because of that, it's used a lot in like beginner woodworking. They also have really straight trunks, which used to be used as ship masts. So because they didn't have to like shape them at all, they would just cut them down and use them. What is really distinct about your pines and important for identification, how many letters does the word white have in it? W-H-I-T-E. You say 6. I was kidding. How many needles do you see on this bunch? 5. So white pine, 5 letters, 5 needles. So this is actually a compound leaf because the node is down here, and when you pick these needles off, they actually come off in little bunches. They don't come off individually. So a whole leaf from a pine tree is that whole bundle. That cool? Alternately, the red pine only has 2. So I wish it had 3, so it'd be cool, and it would just depend on the letters in the word. It doesn't. Red pine had to be stubborn. But they also grow really tall and really straight. Their needles are actually longer. So pine needles are kind of relatively short. They're only a few inches long. Red pines are going to be a little bit longer, but they're only going to be in a bunch of 2. So the best way to tell is just go ahead and usually your pines have branches that hang pretty low. So grabbing those and just figure out, does it have 5 needles in its bunch or 2? And that's going to determine which one it is. Do you guys have questions about any of the trees? So after the forestry contest, we're going to wait until then. After the forestry contest, we're going to refresh this with some around the world, okay? And then you guys are going to have a leaf ID test. So again, I'm going to go get some branches and bring them in here and lay them out, and you guys are going to have to identify them based off just going out and looking at them. So sometimes the pictures versus it in person. Guys, we timed that up so perfectly. That means tomorrow we get to do exciting fun things.